Welcome back to another episode of the Find Food Freedom Podcast. This is your host, Sam Previtt, and I am very excited that you are here. It wouldn't be my podcast without me sounding congested. I went so many weeks without being congested, and the daycare germs are back. But alas, today we're not going to be talking about daycare germs. That is just me making a mental note of that. And I want to take today's episode right into our Find Food Freedom win of the week. And then we're going to get to our final episode today in the dating and marriage series, which has been such a fun series to do in the month of February. I feel like the theme is very on brand with Valentine's Day and relationships just being pumped out into the media. So, super excited to wrap it all up today. So, today's Find Food Freedom win of the week is a direct message that I got from somebody who got their insurance benefits checked with our team and started meeting with our team. And they sent me this message. They said, I can't believe my insurance is going to cover 100% of one-on-one coaching unlimited with no copay with your team. I am in shock and so excited for this that it's possible for me because otherwise, if this insurance coverage didn't take place, I would not be able to afford it. I still really can't believe it because I thought my insurance kind of sucked, but now it doesn't suck. Thank you so much for this work and for doing this insurance thing. It's so great. So great with some heart emojis. So, getting messages like this is truly so heartwarming and it is so validating that we made the right decision to bump to a insurance model so we can reach as many people as possible. And I apologize if I sound like a broken record, if you've heard me say this before, but I have always said that the mission of Find Food Freedom is to help as many people as possible make peace with food and their body. And for 8+ years, we were a private pay organization, private practice. And, the more and more and more I thought about it, the more it tugged on my heartstrings. I was like, we have to accept health insurance if we want to reach as many people as possible. And I think about myself, like, if you are privileged and lucky enough to have health insurance, you are going to search for an in network provider in any specialty, right? And so the more that I thought about it, I just couldn't stop. And I said, we got to do it. So we did it. And I am excited to announce that as of today, we have 12 registered dietitians, certified intuitive eating counselors on the Find Food Freedom team. And these 12 providers, and we're still currently interviewing for more, that's how much volume and demand there has been to work with a provider. And when I tell you, it has just been unbelievable. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I want to get my insurance benefits checked, first of all, you should because there's no downside. There's truly no downside at all. So you can go to findfoodfreedomresources.com, or if you go on our Instagram, if you go on our TikTok, just click the link in our bio. It'll take you right to it. Again, that is findfoodfreedomresources.com. Get your insurance benefits checked. We have an amazing system set up now where when you put in what state you live in and what insurance plan you have, we will know pretty quickly if it's a direct match and we accept your insurance and we're licensed in your state. And so you'll be able to schedule actually right away in our system. And for some of you, you might not get to the scheduling page. And all that means is our system says, hey, we need a little information. We need a little more information from you because all these insurance plans, you know, they they're finicky. So if you don't get to the scheduling page, it does not mean we don't accept your insurance. It just means we need more information. And then we will reach out to you directly once we know exactly if there's a match or not. So again, findfoodfreedomresources.com, get your insurance benefits checked. We have an incredible team of registered dietitians and certified intuitive eating counselors and eating disorder specialists, who you will be getting to know very personally starting next week on the pod, because March kicks off our National Nutrition Month series where we will be interviewing, I will be interviewing our providers, and you'll be able to hear from them directly. So our new providers that now are on the Find Food Freedom team, they're going to tell their own personal and professional stories and journeys related to food and body. And so you can get to know them better because they're all so diverse, have different backgrounds, all of this stuff. So cool. So excited for you to virtually meet them on the pod. And now let's get into today's series, right? The reason that you are here. So today wraps up our dating and marriage series on the pod, is what I was kind of calling it. Week 1 was how to navigate dating in diet culture, right? If you're single, if you're actively dating, if you're looking for a partner, you got to go back and listen to week 1. This is where we really talk about, like, when I say dating in diet culture, there is no way to date humans and not be triggered by diet culture, whether it's a server making a comment or your potential partner that you are dating, right, making a comment, or their beliefs about food and body, or your own relationship with food and body coming into the relationship. Like, this is a must listen. Our most requested episode was week 2, where we covered physical intimacy with poor body image. Please know that this episode is for everyone, whether you're single, whether you're actively dating, whether you're in a long-term partnership, whether you've been married for 20 plus years, it doesn't matter. If you want physical intimacy in your life, but you feel like your body is creating shame, or you avoid physical intimacy because of your body, you're going to want to listen to that episode. Week 3, which was last week, was help. My partner and I have different beliefs about food and body. And this was a really interesting episode because it was almost like a rapid fire version of people writing in and just saying all of the different things that they're struggling with their partner related to food and body. So I made sure to kind of leave out, I got a lot of intimacy ones that came through again, because then I would just be like, oh, refer back to episode number 2, because we did a whole episode on that. And that leads us to today's episode, which is how to thrive in a partnership related to food and body. And the objectives, or like what I want you to walk away from, let's say, with this episode, is tangible takeaways that you can apply and truly just apply to your life moving forward. And I originally was going to say like how to thrive in a marriage, but some people don't want to be married and some people choose not to get married, and you don't need to be in a marriage. Like, it could be a long-term partnership, it could be a long-term relationship, it doesn't matter. So I feel like in all the other episodes, I talked about a lot of obstacles, which are in turn going to benefit you and going to help you thrive. But today I wanted to talk about like exercises or things you could do, or journaling, like again, back to tangible things that you can do. So, um, let's get into it. Okay. Number one, this might be hard to hear because it's like, okay, I'm ready. I got my notebook out. I have my journal. I got my pen ready. What are you going to tell me? What are you going to tell me, Sam? And you might think like it's going to be something with you and your partner, but the best thing you can do if you want to thrive in a partnership related to food and body is work on your own relationship with food and body. I know it's not an exciting one, right? It's not a sexy one. But I think about this as a very big parallel to, we have a lot of parents that we support at Find Food Freedom. And the number one thing we hear from parents is, I just want my child to have a positive relationship with food and body. I don't want them to struggle with weight like I did my entire life. I don't want them to yo-yo diet their entire life. What can I do for my kid? And just like I said, for a partner, same thing gets reflected into a child, the relationship with the child. the best possible thing you can do to help support a healthy relationship with food and body for a child is to work on your own relationship with food and body. And I think that it's so easy sometimes to want to focus outside of ourselves, right? Like to, oh, well, if I tell my partner this, or if I teach him this, or if I do this, that's going to help everything. But I want to encourage you to quiet the external, turn inward, and work on your own relationship with food and body. And the reason why is because when you do that, it allows you to be able to plant seeds in the lives of those closest to you. So in this instance, we're talking about your partner. It could be your child, right? If you have children, it could be your niece or nephew. It could be your roommate. It could be your girlfriends. It could be anyone. It could be your mother. If you focus on your own relationship with food, you take accountability, you take responsibility, you work on your own relationship with food and body, that is going to have the biggest impact. If we bring it back to today's topic, that is going to have the biggest impact on your long-term partnership or marriage related to food and body, because your partner is going to then in turn reap the benefits of you making peace with food and your body, regardless of what their relationship with food and body looks like. Woof. That one is hard. It is so hard. It's hard to hear. It's hard to do. I want to validate if you're like, well, shit, you don't understand, Sam, because his relationship with food, he's measuring and weighing and doing all that. And I get it. I get it. Ooh, I get it. And that's where you can go back to the previous episode where we talk through some of those obstacles. But I want to encourage you, if you want to thrive in a partnership related to food and body, to work on your own relationship with food and body first. Release yourself of the responsibility of convincing your partner or anyone in your life that they shouldn't be dieting. That is not your job. You do not need to convince people not to diet. You do not need to defend intuitive eating. You do not need to fight for this paradigm. And even as someone who's a registered dietitian, certified intuitive eating counselor, and certified personal trainer, it is not my job to convince anyone not to diet. But the more that you believe that and live that out and make that your truth, the more enjoyment and fulfillment and acceptance you will get around food and your body. And I love a good analogy. Like if I could just only speak in analogies, I need to find more analogies. I love analogies. Okay, but today's analogy, I forget where I heard it. I wish I could give credit, but you know how the internet is. Like you read something and you're like, oh my God, I love this. And then you forget who you learned it from. So I did not make this up, but it wasn't even talking about food and body. It was talking about like a human being. So I want you to think of yourself as this vase, right? You're a vase sitting on a desk, and everything that pours into this vase is your needs. So your emotional needs, your physical needs, your sexual needs, your just like everything that a human needs goes into this vase. And if you are constantly, and so that's water, right? In the form of water, everything's coming into this vase as water. So if you are constantly just pouring yourself out for others, so like think about this vase just like kind of like tipping, and you're giving, like just giving your energy to everybody else, giving to your kids, to your partner, to your friends, to your colleagues, like you end up with an empty vase. And you cannot live that way. You can, but it'll lead to burnout, resentment, unhappiness, unfulfillment, this feeling of like needing and wanting more. And so, what I want you to think about is when you choose to pour into yourself and work on your own relationship with food and body, that actually starts to, and I hear this from clients all the time, it's not just intuitive eating, it's intuitive living. Like once you make peace with food and body, that's like the centerpiece of everything, where then you start to say, what are my physical needs, my emotional needs, my sexual needs, my, like my intellectual needs, my relational needs. Like, so I want you to think about, instead of this vase tipping over to give to everyone else, what happens is this vase becomes firmly planted, let's say on a desk or on a table. And all of that water, right, represents all of the different needs we talked about, in addition to healing your relationship with food and body. And what happens? That water pours over without tipping, because your cup or your vase is full, and you're able to pour out to others in your life. So both examples, the vase is pouring out to others, but the one vase is empty and depleted and just barely getting by. And the other vase is fully overflowing and pouring out to others. And that's that visual that I see when I think about a human being working on their own relationship with food and body and putting themselves first so they can pour into others. If you genuinely want to thrive in a partnership related to food and body, if you genuinely want to have a happy marriage or a partnership, the more you work on yourself and take that accountability, responsibility, and time and devotion, that is going to pour out into those closest to you in your life. And that's where the magic happens. All right. So that, I think, by far is the most important one. So I wanted to start with that one. And then number 2 and 3, also very important, and a little bit more lighthearted than others. So number 2 was something that you can do to bring connection into your partnership around food and body. I'm going to credit Cameron Rogers. She has the Freckled Foodie and Friends podcast. I've been on her podcast before. She's an amazing creator and friend. And I heard her talk about this like years ago, and I've gotten away from it, but we were doing it for a while in our marriage. And I keep saying to my husband, we got to get back to this. But between baby number 1 is now a toddler, and we got baby number 2 on the way, things have been a little crazy. But it's something I want to get back to. So prioritizing this is, and I'm going to butcher, like, I don't know how Cam says it, but this is like my own spin on her idea. So bringing connection into the home or the partnership, right? By once a month, taking turns, one of you plans a home date and one of you plans an away date. Now, why this is really important, especially I think for like parents, for some of you, you may be like, we go on a date every weekend. If you do not have children and you have the privilege to funds to, have resources to go out more often, amazing, great, love that for you. But what I really think can be helpful is being intentional of like, okay, every month, for example, the month of March is coming up, right? So if we use my husband and I as an example, in the month of March, I would be in charge and responsible for planning an away date, right? So I have to book the babysitter. I book the activity. I am in charge of that. And then he has a date and time that he is setting up, in charge of, responsible for a home date. So that means after our child goes down around 7 p.m., he is in charge of whatever we do. Now, there can be so many different things. Now, the nice thing about planning the home date is then you don't have the mental load of booking the babysitter, right? If you have children. And again, this is not just for parents. This is for all relationships. I think it's so easy to get caught in sitting on the couch, watching a series, which there's nothing wrong with that. Like we love marinating together on the couch and watching TV, but it's easy to be scrolling on the phone, like just completely disassociated and not connecting. And so if we bring this example is just about connection and partnership in general, what I'm giving you, but you can take it a step further and you can make it more about food if you want. So, for example, together before you start this rotation of home date, away date, like, you know, and switching on and off of who's planning what each month, come up with a huge list of restaurants. And maybe some are in a good price range. Maybe some are like crazy expensive and you're like, maybe someday we'll go there. Whatever it is, like come up with a big list of restaurants and places that you're like, we would love to try this food because it's so easy if you don't intentionally plan something. You're like, oh, where do you want to go tonight? Oh, if you're feeling tired, it's like, well, just go here again. And it's like, your close restaurants close to home. So this helps put intentionality into not only your partnership, but if we're looking at from food examples here too. Now, please know that the home dates and the away dates, they don't have to have anything to do with food. You could do like the indoor skydiving thing. You could go rock climbing. You could do a pottery class. You could do a dance class together. Like there's so many things that you can do. And I'm also giving examples of food because I think that you could do a cooking class, right? You could, whether you're the away date, you could go to a studio that does cooking classes, or again, depending on resources, if you're the home date, you could have somebody coming to your home to teach you a private cooking class. Like there are so many fun things that you can do that just take a teeny, like truly like a teeny bit of planning and intention, but life is crazy. We get stuck in our habits and we don't do these things. And I think of like my partnership right now, like we both are very fortunate to have a very peaceful relationship with food and body is very accepting, very neutral. And how doing these extra things of planning a home date and an away date every month and switching on and off, like how much that was enhancing our marriage and our partnership related to food and body. So I really want to encourage you to try this. And you could come up with so many fun ideas. And I would love to hear from you. Like if you're hearing me talk about this and you're getting excited and you're like, oh my God, there's like all these things I've wanted to do. And this is like a great way to do it. Awesome. Also, if you are single and you're listening to this because you're hopeful that one day you're going to have a partnership or a marriage that you want to thrive in, you don't have to wait to do these things. Let me tell you, some of the most fun that I had on a trip was before my daughter Sienna was born, a few months before. I went on a solo vacation. I've never done this before, but I think I just like knew my life was going to drastically change. And I was like, oh my God, I need to get away. I went to Charleston, South Carolina for the weekend. I booked it like 2 days before for a long weekend. I went to restaurants by myself. I toured the city by myself. I like did all these things by myself and it was so fun. And I am in a loving partnership, but I was like, I gotta go. And I did this alone. And I wish so badly that I had the confidence and the truly the relationship with myself to do these things alone before I got into a partnership. Because I think that can only benefit you, your relationship with yourself, food, body. So please know that, like everything I'm talking about, you can do a night out on the town by yourself and a very intentional, fun, different kind of like home activity every month, regardless of if you have a partner or not. Or that could be a fun way if you're on the dating apps and you're talking to people and you're kind of actively dating to like come up with all these ideas and then like pitch them to the people that you're dating. If you're going on multiple dates, if you're dating multiple people, like try some things out. And this can bring spontaneity and fun back into food. And I think that's so important because it's so easy to get stuck in our ruts. Okay, last but not least, which kind of like this is like 1A. I probably should put these two together. When I said like work on your own relationship with food and body. If you are in a partnership, in a marriage, in a long-term relationship, communication, communication, communication is everything. I can't say it enough. I cannot say it enough. And finding support to help both you and your partner communicate, understanding how you both communicate, understanding what pitfalls you have in communication, understanding that you're two broken people coming together. If you have the resources and the means to therapy to help have that neutral third party come into your relationship and help you build these communication skills, oh my gosh, that is so beneficial, speaking from personal experience. Um, but it's the reminder of having that neutral third party can help you both sift through your, what are your values around food? What are their values around food? What are your values around, or what is your relationship with your body and your values and thoughts and opinions around bodies in general? And then same thing for them. And you can put that out in front of you with that neutral third party and discuss it and communicate it and work through it. So this was referenced in last week's episode as well, a little bit more in detail. And I highly encourage you again to go back and listen to that one if you are actively in a partnership or a marriage where you're feeling like you and your partner have different beliefs around food and body. But this is where, again, when I say neutral third party, a therapist can be so, so helpful, and or a registered dietitian who is also a certified intuitive eating counselor and eating disorder specialist, body image certified. Again, I'm speaking from knowing the Find Food Freedom team that we have 12 practitioners that would be able to help you and your partner sift through these things. And please know that there are thousands and thousands of others out there. So if you're looking for a specific race or gender or body size or sexuality or whatever, if you have a certain provider in your head that you can't find on our team, please let us know. And we're happy to make that referral and that connection, whether it be a therapist or a dietitian, because getting support in this realm can be so helpful. It's important to remember that both you and your partner, you've never done this before, right? You're learning and you're growing together, and you both have your own relationship with food and body. So the more that you can communicate together and be open to hearing each other grow and learn and evolve together, the better. Oh, I feel like we could always use a deep breath after these episodes. So I'm so excited to wrap this episode with a bow. It has been such a fun series. We have some really, really fun upcoming series. Like I said, with March next month, we have some really good stuff around nutrition science without the stigma. You're going to meet all of the new providers. It's going to be some great content in March. And then April and May. April hosts National Infertility Awareness Week. As someone who is, has gone through IVF multiple times, we're going to be doing a bunch of infertility content related to food and body. And then we have May, which is not only my due date, but also Mother's Day. So we're going to be doing all the pregnancy, postpartum stuff in May and motherhood. So again, even if you're not actively trying to have children, even if you're not yet a mother, these are episodes that I wish so badly someone talked to me about before I got to this stage of life. So I'm not a big sister, but I would love to be your big sister. So if you're listening to these episodes and you're like, well, I want to hear what she has to say, I would be happy to have those conversations with you because I didn't get them from anyone. So we'll get there. And I'm getting ahead of myself. Can you tell? March, April, May, the content is flowing, the themes are flowing, and we're really excited to provide all of these series, again, related to food and body image. So if you enjoyed today's episode, I would so appreciate if you head on over to Apple Podcasts, rate, review, subscribe. Let us know with National Nutrition Month. We have Infertility Awareness Week. We have Mother's Day stuff coming up, what you want to see, what you want to hear. We are always grateful for your feedback. And I just can't wait to chat with you again next week. So have a great week and we'll talk soon.